Hey everybody, Michael Snyder, Pacific Northwest Weather Watch. Today is August 19th, and right now we're looking at the infrared satellite imagery. Pacific Northwest to the right, there is our trough of low pressure spinning right across Haida Gwaii. That little low pressure system continues to be with us, but it is on the weakening stage, and we're going to start to ramp up the temperatures yet again as we go through this week. Summer is not done for the Pacific Northwest, and we'll take a look at the fantasy forecast as always as we go through the video here this morning. So lightning strikes, this was yesterday morning kicking off. We're going to have something similar here, but this is going to be further east. I'll show you that here in a moment. But I wanted to look at the visible satellite imagery. Looks like some nice sunny skies across much of the Oregon coast. There's Tillamook right there. Astoria getting into some clouds. Hoquiam, Quilly, much more cloudy, and still some precipitation going on across portions of Vancouver Island. You can also see Mount Rainier kicking off a couple lenticular clouds here this morning as well. Sunny skies off to the east, just some passing high clouds. Now, looking at the composite reflectivity, this was the Doppler radar may look like here over the next 48 hours. So this is Vancouver Island. You can see they're getting the precipitation for now. Maybe a stray shower clip in northwest Washington, but not much to speak of. However, as we go through this evening, you see some of this develop right on the Montana-Idaho border. That could be a wind threat there with some of the stronger storms as we go on in through tonight, pushing off to the east. And then again tomorrow, some developing across eastern Idaho, across Yellowstone there, maybe portions of Montana yet again. But you see nothing for Seattle, Portland, Southwest BC as we really start to build this ridge as we go on in through the upcoming week and we start to dry things out. Offshore winds, fire potential, and summer is not done, like I said earlier, with the Pacific Northwest. So let's take a look here at the shorter term forecast in the European. There goes the trough swinging off to the east, and the ridge quickly takes its place. We still have a trough way out there north of the Hawaiian Islands, Gulf of Alaska. That is not going to have an impact on the Pacific Northwest here as we go through the upcoming end of the week and towards this weekend. You can see the ridge really dominating here across the southwest portion of the USA. That ridge axis extended all the way up into British Columbia, keeping us nice and toasty as we go through this weekend. How warm? We're just not quite sure just yet, but we are definitely trending upwards. The GFS, as I mentioned yesterday, was showing some 90-degree day potential for Seattle, and the European has been bumping up its temperatures as well. So we'll take a look at that here in a moment. And there we are at the end of last night's run. Now, total precipitation in inches. One more time driving home the point. You can see Seattle, Portland, Southwest BC, the metro area. Nothing to speak of here over the next 6 days as we start to wrap things up. But look at right at the end of the run. You see Eastern Oregon starting to get some precipitation there. That is monsoon moisture creeping back out of the southwest across California, Nevada, and perhaps into portions of South and East Oregon. That would be early next week, or maybe Sunday there coming up, even Saturday night. Who knows? We'll be watching that closely here over the next few days. Now, if we take a look at precipitable water, kind of driving home that point, we'll put this into motion as we go towards the end of the week. Watch these actually blues, greens, and yellows start to creep up northward towards portions of Oregon as we go towards the end of that forecast. One more time, we'll go through that loop. That's that monsoon moisture trying to move back up into Oregon. Now, this is vertically integrated smoke. Putting this into motion, there are a couple fires out there. If you didn't see yesterday near I-90, I guess somebody had a flat tire and their rim was dragging on I-90. That was kicking off sparks, and it caused several fires along I-90. High-resolution model is picking up some of that. You see some fires across portions of Nevada and portions of Idaho as well, kicking off some smoke. I haven't identified what fire that is yet. I'll probably do that here tomorrow, but there is still some smoke moving around across portions of Oregon. Right now, we're not seeing much smoke from the Bear Gulch fire and the Mount Underwood fire, but those fires are still active here, and I worry about as we go through the end of the week, we start to get some offshore flow, and hopefully those fires don't start to flare up or we don't start any additional fires. It's still that time of year, and I believe that's the Sun Country fire there along I-90 that was kicked off yesterday by somebody in a trailer with a flat tire out there kicking off sparks. Now, you can kind of see that here on the Snoqualmie Pass, the Department of Transportation. A lot of smoke out there. I-90 was closed back and forth for some time yesterday. Let me know if you got caught in that. So taking a look at 850 millibars. Here's the trough, cooler than normal conditions. Still got the onshore flow going here as we go on in through the midweek period here coming up, but watch as things start to change. So here we go. Look at these reds start to come across the region, start to get some offshore flow, thermal trough up the coastline. We are going to ramp up these temperatures here as we go on in through the end of the week and through this weekend. Look at this, just kind of take charge. Big flip from where we are now to where we're going at the end of the week. This is at 5,000 feet. Now, if we look at the 2-meter temperature anomaly, we're doing okay as far as mossbacks are concerned until we get to about, Thursday. You can kind of see that start to warm up here across the region on Thursday, but watch what comes for Friday. Yeah, not good. We're going to be warming things up here. And then Saturday as well. I mean, look at these temperatures. Some places well above normal, save for the immediate Washington and Oregon coastline. You can still escape the heat by getting out to the coast if you're that mobile. And of course, we go through Sunday. Something similar is going to be out there as well, above normal temperatures across much of the region. Summer is not over yet. Artificial intelligence. Let's look at the extended forecast a little bit here. There goes that ridge. How long does this hang out? Well, you can see I'm going through the weekend and through the early portion of next week, and we still got some semblance of that ridging out there. Now, I talked about this fantasy upper level low off our coastline. It's still out there, but it's bobbing and weaving. This is going to be changing back and forth. But if this were to come in this position, this could really bring some thunderstorm potential west of the Cascades. Problem is, you're looking up over 10 days off in the forecast. This is purely just having fun with the future of the weather model here on artificial intelligence. We're just looking up into Fantasyland and getting a kick out of that. But that would be an interesting signal there with an upper level load there. You'd get a lot of defluent flow off of potential thunderstorms with it. So let's look at the extended forecast on the GFS. It's not done a bad job here so far. The European is leaning towards what it's been saying here over the last few days. And you continue to see the onshore flow as we go through Wednesday. But by the time we get to Thursday, we start to ramp up those temperatures here. And then we go on in towards Friday. And you clearly see the warmth coming for the upper levels, or not the upper levels, but about 5,000 feet up in the atmosphere. And then we go off in towards this weekend. The heat wants to stay with us. We continue off in through next week and kind of see that heat remaining. And also look at this, the GFS showing that upper level low way off out there, 10 plus days off in the forecast, in kind of a similar position as what the artificial intelligence was showing there as well. So maybe there's something to that. But again, we have plenty of time to worry about that. Now, GFS, mean sea level pressure. So you hear me talk about thermal troughs, kind of an interesting feature we can get here through the summertime. Look as this ridge starts to kick inland. You notice what happens here? We get this little bit of a low pressure tongue to move up the coastline there. High to low, you start to bring some offshore flow because you got the higher pressure over the interior portions. You start to bring that out. You get compressional heating and the thermal trough moving up the coastline there as we go through the day on Friday. So that's going to bring some fire danger here across the Pacific Northwest as well as we head on in towards the weekend. Now, if we look at those winds at about 2,500 feet off the surface, we're going to scroll off towards the end of the week there. And actually, let's first check to see when these become offshore. As we go through, what is this, about Wednesday night, very early Thursday morning, we start to slowly turn things offshore as we go on into the day. Thursday, kind of that north wind coming down here. We're kicking things offshore. But by the time we get towards Friday morning, look at that. We're kicking things offshore. You start to get the northerly winds across eastern Washington, and we start to turn everything easterly by the time we get towards Friday, the late morning hours. You can clearly see that coming through the Fraser River Valley there and across the Puget Sound through the gorge. So that could be an area for some fire danger as we go through Friday and again on in through Saturday, still dealing with those offshore conditions there as well. Now, this is daily 2-meter temperature, and this is for Tuesday, 19th of August. There's the Willamette Valley here today, and watch these temperatures start to creep up as we go through Thursday. We start to bounce things up. 90s returning to the Willamette Valley, maybe 80 for some of Southwest BC, some of the Western Washington areas getting up towards 80 as well. Then look at Friday. We really ramp these temperatures up. Portland, you're in the upper 90s again. Medford, 105. Seattle, mid-80s. You're up towards 90 for Olympia. Look at some of these temperatures across Southwest BC, Vancouver Island, really ramping up the heat. We go through Saturday. Look at Seattle, 86. I mean, and that could easily become upper 80s or even 90 degrees there as we get a bit closer to the weekend coming up. And again, Sunday, very warm day across much of the region. Again, so summer is definitely not over. Do not put away those air conditioners because you are going to need them as we go through this weekend and through the early portion of next week. Who knows what's going to happen after this? Now, the GFS shows this gradual warm up, and as we go through Friday, you can see it ramping up into the mid and upper 80s. You go through Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. Look, it wants to hold on to this heat all the way on through the mid portion of next week before quite a dramatic cool off coming there. We'll see how that turns out, though. I'm not going to get too caught up in that. That's purely a fantasy forecast. But man, look at the control run there, dropping us back down to the highs only in the 60s there for a few days. fantasy forecast right now. We got a lot of heat to deal with before we get to that time period. Now, this is the European model, Seattle Tacoma International Airport. And again, the European, this is yesterday afternoon, has been ramping up that heat. These are very warm conditions for Seattle. Of course, some areas are going to be warmer than that. And the European tends to underdo these temperatures here as well. So we could easily be creeping up towards the 90-degree threshold as we go on in through this later portion of August. Here is the latest European. You can see it kicking off things into the upper 80s as we get on in towards Saturday, and some of the ensembles starting to peak up over 90 degrees there as well. And also in the extended forecast, kind of another fantasy look at things here, it says show some precipitation returning as we go towards the end of the month. If it's in the flavor of that upper level low off the California-Oregon border there, you could be bringing some thunderstorm activity in with this precipitation. Same thing for Portland there as well. Now, another fantasy look at things here. You go all the way out onto the end of September, and you see Paradise starting to pick up some snow in the extended European. I just like showing that once in a while, and don't worry about that too much. But 6 to 10 day temperature outlook above normal across the west coast. You see the monsoon signal there going across the southwest USA as well, and then the 8 to 14 day above, and then this broad brush above as well. So anyway, got the Patreon page back under full control. So this might not be a bad way to, if you want to donate some of your hard-earned money to the channel, you can go ahead and do so here on the Patreon page. I'll leave the link down below. Still having some trouble with YouTube. They've just got this automated security process that makes you wait a week, 2 weeks. I don't know. They have to trust my devices. I have all the security information ready to go, but then they're relying on the computer to tell me to wait until it trusts my device. And it doesn't make any sense to me that they would change the name of the channel to my channel and change the logo and then make me wait 2 weeks. It just seems like a ridiculous process. So there's my little rant for today. Thanks for listening. Yeah, look, we're staying up over 100,000 subscribers, and hopefully I'll be able to change this over the next week, whatever, how long, I don't know what's going on here, but I am in contact with them. It seems like I'm talking to some kind of AI thing that just responds to my question in some generic fashion, and then occasionally a human tries to jump in that may or may not know what's going on. So yeah, anyway, thanks for my rant there. What else? We'll break everything down. So yeah, summer weather is going to return here, and hopefully to the fantasy land, we'll get some more active weather coming up here across the region as well. So anyway, I will talk to you guys again tomorrow.